Together we can eradicate extreme poverty and erase barriers to opportunity. But this requires a sustained commitment to our people, so farmers can feed more people, so entrepreneurs can start a business without paying a bribe, so young people have the skills they need to succeed in this modern knowledge-based economy. We can promote growth through trade that meets a higher standard. And that's what we're doing through the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade agreement that encompasses nearly 40% of the global economy, an agreement that will open markets while protecting the rights of workers and protecting the environment that enables development to be sustained. We can roll back the pollution that we put in our skies and help economies lift people out of poverty without condemning our children to the ravages of an ever-warming climate. The same ingenuity that produced the industrial age and the computer age allows us to harness the potential of clean energy. No country can escape the ravages of climate change. And there's no stronger sign of leadership than putting future generations first. The United States will work with every nation that is willing to do its part so that we can come together in Paris to decisively confront this challenge. And finally, our vision for the future of this assembly, my belief in moving forward rather than backwards, requires us to defend the democratic principles that allow societies to succeed. Let me start from a simple premise. Catastrophes like what we are seeing in Syria do not take place in countries where there is genuine democracy and respect for the universal values this institution is supposed to defend. I recognize that democracy is going to take different forms in different parts of the world. The very idea of a people governing themselves depends upon government giving expression to their unique culture, their unique history, their unique experiences. But some universal truths are self-evident. No person wants to be imprisoned for peaceful worship. No woman should ever be abused with impunity, or a girl barred from going to school. The freedom to peacefully petition those in power without fear of arbitrary laws. These are not ideas of one country or one culture. They are fundamental to human progress. They are a cornerstone of this institution. I realize that in many parts of the world there's a different view, a belief that strong leadership must tolerate no dissent. I hear it not only from America's adversaries, but privately at least I also hear it from some of our friends. I disagree. I believe a government that suppresses peaceful dissent is not showing strength, it is showing weakness, and it is showing fear. History shows that regimes who fear their own people will eventually crumble. But strong institutions built on the consent of the governed endure long after any one individual is gone. That's why our strongest leaders, from George Washington to Nelson Mandela, have elevated the importance of building strong democratic institutions over a thirst for perpetual power. Leaders who amend constitutions to stay in office only acknowledge that they failed to build a successful country for their people, because none of us last forever. It tells us that power is something they cling to for its own sake, rather than for the betterment of those they purport to serve. I understand democracy is frustrating. Democracy in the United States is certainly imperfect. At times it can be dysfunctional. But democracy, the constant struggle to extend rights to more of our people, to give more people a voice, is what allowed us to become the most powerful nation in the world. It's not simply a matter of principle. It's not an abstraction. Democracy, inclusive democracy, makes countries stronger. When opposition parties can seek power peacefully through the ballot, a country draws upon new ideas. When a free media can inform the public, corruption and abuse are exposed and can be rooted out. When civil society thrives, communities can solve problems that governments cannot necessarily solve alone. When immigrants are welcomed, countries are more productive and more vibrant. When girls can go to school and get a job and pursue unlimited opportunity, that's when a country realizes its full potential. That is what I believe is America's greatest strength. Not everybody in America agrees with me. That's part of democracy. I believe that the fact that you can walk the streets of this city right now and pass churches and synagogues and temples and mosques where people worship freely, the fact that our nation of immigrants mirrors the diversity of the world, you can find everybody from everywhere here in New York City. The fact that in this country, everybody can contribute. Everybody can participate, no matter who they are or what they look like or who they love. That's what makes us strong. And I believe that what is true for America is true for virtually all mature democracies. And that is no accident. We can be proud of our nations without defining ourselves in opposition to some other group. We can be patriotic without demonizing someone else. We can cherish our own identities, our religion, our ethnicity, our traditions, without putting others down. Our systems are premised on the notion that absolute power will corrupt, but that people, ordinary people, are fundamentally good, that they value family and friendship, faith, and the dignity of hard work, and that with appropriate checks and balances, governments can reflect this goodness. I believe that's the future we must seek together. To believe in the dignity of every individual. To believe we can bridge our differences and choose cooperation over conflict. That is not weakness, that is strength. It is a practical necessity in this interconnected world. And our people understand this. Think of the Liberian doctor who went door to door to search for Ebola cases and to tell families what to do if they show symptoms. Think of the Iranian shopkeeper who said after the nuclear deal, God willing, now we'll be able to offer many more goods at better prices. Think of the Americans who lowered the flag over our embassy in Havana in 1961, the year I was born, and returned this summer to raise that flag back up. One of these men said of the Cuban people, we could do things for them and they could do things for us. We loved them. For 50 years, we ignored that fact. Think of the families leaving everything they've known behind, risking barren deserts and stormy waters just to find shelter, just to save their children. One Syrian refugee who was greeted in Hamburg with warm greetings and shelter said, we feel there are still some people who love other people. United Nations are not as different as they are told. They can be made to fear. They can be taught to hate. But they can also respond to hope. History is littered with the failure of false prophets and fallen empires who believe that might always makes right. And that will continue to be the case. You can count on that. But we are called upon to offer a different type of leadership. Leadership strong enough to recognize that nations share common interests and people share a common humanity. And yes, there are certain ideas and principles that are universal. That's what those who shaped the United Nations 70 years ago understood. Let us carry forward that faith into the future, for it is the only way we can assure that the future will be brighter for my children and for yours. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the United States of America for his statement just made. May I request representatives to remain seated while we greet the President.